talk about, so you can tell I'm a little nervous, right? It's because while many people, so I have for the last 25 years, I think I've talked to you about this, been an academic dean in major institutions, academic institutions. And those are not places where one loudly proclaims, by the way, I can channel spirit guides, and I see dead people, and I have messages from wherever, and all the time. One does not actually advertise that in those settings, as you can imagine. So while people knew I was a bit into astrology, and let's just say a bit, they didn't know the rest of this because I hid it. And I hid some of it from myself. And that's not good. And so now I am like blatantly saying, okay, I put my soul out on long-term lease to do that work, to be an academic dean. My soul has come back. And you know, when you lease something out, it comes back, you gotta clean it up. I've done that. And the more I clean that part of me and refresh it and heal it, the more I realize this part of me, this psychic part of me, is alive and well and wants to come out to play. So thank you for being with me, and thank you for understanding as I sort of play out some of the technology here and make sure I can get it to work so I can see you, which I'm still struggling a little bit with, but I will get there, I'm sure. And let me tell you about crystal balls and why this is the crystal ball hour. Okay, now I think I have it. I'm in the right place on the internet. Okay. So, why crystal balls? You know, when you hear somebody talk about being a psychic, you rarely hear anyone talk about crystal balls. In fact, I'm the only one I know who actually uses them. If you're out there and you do, that's very cool. Come into the Facebook site and let me know. And I'm trying to make sure that I can see you. Okay, there we go. Pretty sure I can see you. Now, why crystal balls? And why not tarot cards, right? Well, I did start reading tarot cards probably when I was 13, and they're fine. And the issue with tarot cards for me, not about the cards, is that I had to like memorize something. And the way I read, things just come. And I actually was never quite able to memorize every card. And so I'm not a tarot card expert. I just use them to open up myself, to read, right? To open up to those voices. But very early on, I learned to read crystal balls. And in fact, if you love this stuff, you should tell me. I'll do a crystal ball lesson on one of these shows, because I know I can teach you how. How do you read a crystal ball? And how did I learn? So this is an old legend, but I'm in the lineage of this old legend, if that makes sense. There was an old story I heard at the Shabbat, Jewish Shabbat Friday night table. And that Shabbat table, we always have wine and candles. And when you're a kid, you get grape juice. Sometimes you get wine, but something like that in a goblet. And there was a story I was told of a grandmother in my lineage who would fill that crystal goblet with red wine and hold it up so she could see the light of the candle through the liquid. And she would answer her daughter's questions. What will I be? How will this turn out? Will I marry? Mostly she was giving comfort, I'm sure. But she was reading the images and the sensations and the visions in her mind that she got from looking at the candles through the crystal and the red wine. And I heard this story. And it was part of my lineage. And one night at a table, when I had a glass, it has to be glass, you'll be able to see through it, a rounded glass goblet of wine, red wine. I picked it up and looked through it to the candle. And I went into almost a little bit of a trance and actually accidentally spilled the wine. So that first one may have been a little bit of a fail because I spilled the wine. But I realized how deep I could go in that moment with just that. And I am a daughter of that lineage, as I said. And that, I realized, was the way that people learned to read crystal balls. That was the same thing. I can't actually travel around with a glass of red wine and a candle, though, I mean, it's, you know, a nice idea, right? But what I can do, I transferred that into the idea of using crystal balls, and that is how I learned. So I am checking the Facebook site as we're doing this to see if there's any comments, and I'm not sure if I need to refresh it, but I'd love your comments. If you read crystal balls, can you let me know in that Facebook site? Okay, so if you are watching on Facebook, if you're listening, you're going to have to imagine, but if you're watching on Facebook, I brought 4 of my crystal balls with me. I'm not sure what number, no, I think that's all I have is 4. Crystal balls that most people use to read from are glass. They're crystal glass. And so my original crystal ball, and this is going to look very interesting, I think, on camera, is clear. Has a flat bottom because it's less expensive actually when you buy them. If you buy the flat bottom ones, and it doesn't interfere with reading. So I have a clear one, and then I moved on to my black one. It's pure black, and again, it's glass. It's very, very heavy glass. Those are the 2 that I use. But once you get into this, you think, well, there must be other ways to do this, right? And so I also have an amethyst one. When you make them out of minerals, when they're cut out of a mineral, they can break fairly easily, and they can crack along the lines of the mineral itself. So it's tricky, but I do have an amethyst one. And then I also have this little, I call it my traveling crystal ball, right? It's the one I can travel with, and it is a blue agate. Having them with me just opens up that sense of myself, of who I am. It opens me up to the voices or the experiences around me. Okay, so before you think that I'm just like out there kind of woo-woo, the truth is I am out there kind of woo-woo. I still have that PhD in sight. I still have 2 master's degrees, one of them in hard science. Life is about blending the different parts of ourselves together, right? Einstein got there. He got back to, physics took him back to, there's more in this world that we cannot explain simply by mathematics. That's where I am in life. I'm back to blending, and I am sort of back to being out there. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm looking at the Facebook site, and I am hoping that one of you, any of you, and I may have to play with this a little bit. Oh, okay, so what I'm going to do, because I'm seeing a couple of you now, what I'm going to do as I do these readings is I'm just going to say your first name, and if you don't want me to say your first name at all because you want to be completely anonymous, that's fine. But then let me know in the site, okay? So Mary, you're asking for a reading on what the future holds in a new life purpose and abundance. Oh, so this is a great question. Let me also say very clearly, I don't do medical. If you ask me a question about your health, I'm going to ask you to talk to your healthcare practitioner, okay? And I don't do the stock market. So just so you know, those are the 2 things I don't do. And how does somebody read their crystal ball? For me, I hold it. I hold it, and I remember that place, and I see what comes through. Mary, I want to tell you that one of your spirit guides is coming very strongly for me, standing right in front of me. Your spirit guides are not social distancing. I just need to say that. They're telling me that you know your path, that you know what you're supposed to be doing, and that life purpose you're going to have to walk it and let the road open in front of you. You're going to have to trust it, because every time you hesitate, it's almost like telling the universe you're not ready to be that person yet. This guide is telling me very clearly that the abundance is on the other side of it looks like two hills. So imagine you're hiking and you're trying to get somewhere, and you can see where you're going, but then there's a hill and a valley and a hill and a valley, and then you get there. We have to remember to not stop just because we're down in a valley. We have to remember to keep going. Let me know on the Facebook side if that resonates for you, okay, if that makes sense. And I'm going to keep refreshing and see if we have anyone else who's posted a question. Hey, Paula, you are in there just saying much love, and since you didn't ask, I'm to see if anything comes through for you. This is interesting. What's coming through for you are the ringing of chimes, like wind chimes. And I have a picture of wind chimes blowing in a very light breeze and singing to you. There's a faint, in the background of that, I have a sense of a faint rhythm. And I can't tell if that's a drum beat or a heartbeat, but there's a faint rhythm in back of that, as if it's beckoning you, so that the wind chimes are getting your attention. And they're very natural kind of wind chimes. Like I can't even imagine. Sometimes you hear that in trees, like quivering aspens, right? Will give you that sense of a wind chime. But then you're being beckoned somewhere, and it feels like there's information for you there that is going to be so profoundly comforting and helpful. So I'm hoping that made sense to you. Let me know. I'm going to refresh the site, because sometimes that's what you have to do, is refresh the site to see if anyone else is doing comments. Look, I love this. You guys are posting. Thank you. Because, if you don't ask questions, it's kind of hard to do readings, right? Denise, reading from your guides. You've been trying to hear your guidance. And this is great. You're feeling the pieces slowly coming together. So let me see what I get. And this is interesting. They want me to use a different crystal ball. I have no idea why. I have to tell you that when I work with guides, my guides tend to be kind of pushy. I mean, when I hear a story about people's guides, they're always so friendly and loving and kind. And mine are clearly, as a double Aquarius Scorpio rising, I need something a little more intense. But sometimes guides come through, and they're very clear about how they want to talk to me and what they want me to hear. So, Denise, your guides want me to hold my my clear crystal ball in my palm, and here we are. They're telling me. Okay, so there's two guides. They're saying this is interesting. They want you to talk to them because you're getting messages from two different guides, and I think those messages at times feel conflicting. Like you don't know which way to go. So imagine like you said, the pieces are coming together. What if they're like puzzle pieces? And those puzzle pieces, you keep trying one and it doesn't work, but you know it's the right piece, but it goes somewhere else. It's because there are two guides talking to you. And the messages are not conflicting, but they're speaking about different elements of your life. Your guides would like you to do a meditation and get clear on when you're hearing one guide and when you're hearing the other guide. That way they can communicate with you better. Any internal meditation where you settle in, you relax, you listen, one of them may speak to you more in sound and the other more in physical sensation. Let me know if you ever feel see if you feel something on your left arm at times. That they want to talk to you directly, and they want me to simply be a conduit, and that, which is probably why they want the clear crystal ball. Let me know in the Facebook site if that makes sense to you. Let me see who else is here. And I don't know if I have to keep refreshing to get more of you, but I am hoping there's some more of you. Let me know. So, Paula, thank you for letting me know. Mary and Denise, let me know. And let's see if we've got anybody else. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody else right now. If you're out there, it's not hard to do, but let me tell you about how you can contact me, because I know this can be a little nerve-wracking, right? Like, oh my gosh, she's going to talk about me, right? And everyone's going to know. You can find me on Facebook. You can go to KUHS The Stream, which is where I am right now, KUHS The Stream, Denver Radio, and some TV on Facebook Live. You can go to elisarobin.com, and that link is also in the Facebook site. And you can find me on LinkedIn. I am everywhere. I am very easy to find. And what I've been doing during the pandemic is offering my services at half price. So a full reading from me, which usually includes your astrological chart, this is where I like to start, about your soul's craving, what this time is about for you, where you're headed right now, where you're going. All of those things, usually $150. We go a little more than an hour to an hour and a half. And right now I'm doing $75 hour readings and really going in depth with you and helping you through this time. Because we are going to emerge, and we're going to emerge really wanting to have listened to our soul's craving and to go forward on that journey. I'm hoping a few more of you post in here. I am wondering if I should refresh. Is that how you do this? I think maybe you just refresh, and sometimes something else happens. What is that about our soul's journey? When we emerge from this time, everything is silent on some level right now. Time is silent, right? Everything is silent, and we can listen. And so many of my clients and so many of my friends have said, I do not want to go back to the way life was. I was running everywhere all the time. I was trying to launch a business, fall in love, take care of my kids, everything simultaneously. I forgot to listen. I forgot me. All of a sudden, we're remembering. And this is a time of deep remembering. And trust me, we are set up to do that with where the planets are right now. So that there's a way to use this time. Think of this time as if it's a quest. What if you are on a mythic quest right now? Imagine that. There is an enemy, and there is a danger. Don't think of it as an enemy, but there is a danger. And you're trying to be the person you need to be to face that danger and move forward in the world in a way that brings out your best self. The hero's journey. If you're into Joseph Campbell, so many of us are, he was amazing. This is a heroine's journey time for you. If you are into any of the great mythic quests on TV and in movies, right? The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, Star Trek, and just so you know with Star Trek, right? George Lucas was a friend, a very dear friend of Joseph Campbell, and Joseph Campbell was a very dear friend of Carl Jung. You get that mythic quest message in life. That's where we are. Who do you want to be at the end? Do you want to embrace what you can be and emerge that way? That's what this time is about, and honestly, that's what astrology helps with. That's what spirit guides help with. So let me just jump back in here and see if I've got anybody else talking to me. And Denise. Okay, so, all right, you guys, yes, you've asked, and, all right, so, if you're out there, because I'm going to talk astrology if nobody posts it here, which is fine, but I really want to talk to you. I really want your guides to come through. And it's much easier when I at least have a name to attach that to, right? So go into the Facebook site. If this works, we're going to keep doing these kinds of shows. So go in there and chat with me. I promise it will be fun and not upsetting in any way. So let me also tell you, this whole idea about crystal balls and that use of them, using the glass of wine, I also talk about that in my book. So I've mentioned this book before, The Way of the Well. It's a spiritual, romantic adventure. Somebody told me they thought it reminded them of the Celestine Prophecies. It is somebody who is guided to go through the gateways of the directions, and it links Kabbalah and astrology, but one of her main tools in here is that glass of wine and a candle. And in fact, she even gets proposed to via a glass of wine. So just a hint that there's definitely romance in there. That book can be found on Amazon.com. I think BarnesandNoble.com also has it, so you can find it anywhere and you can get it on Kindle. And you're home, right? You're home a lot. It's a great time to read. So let me jump back in here and see if I'm missing any comments. If I touch something, the whole thing does something, so I'm not sure what to do about that. Oh, Nikki. Okay, I'm getting some more. This is great. And I'm sorry if I'm not as good at picking everybody up here. I'm finally sort of figuring out how some of this is work. Christina, thank you for joining. You didn't ask a question, but thank you for being here. Let me know if you want something else. Nikki, the direction of your business the right direction? And that's a lovely question. It's a perfect question. It's just kind of general. You never want yes or no questions are a little tricky, but it's general enough. Well, your guides are coming at me from my back, and they're shoving me forward. They're saying that it's time to move forward. It's time to move forward with your business. It's also time to, I have to use my hands, I guess. It's also time to understand that businesses start in one direction and then often take a little bit of a jig-jag, but they need to do that for you to hone in exactly on your market and what it is you do. Your guide is telling me that you need to move forward and that to not split your efforts. So if you come to a crossroads, understand that you're going to choose one. It'll be the right one. Don't worry about it. And that then if it jig-jags a bit, that's okay. But for right now, it is one direction, and to not try to do everything at the same time, okay? Let me know if that makes sense to you, if you need more information than that. Christina, more understanding. Oh, honey, you're a widow right now. That can be so hard. I know, it can be so hard. My heart goes out to you. So, the understanding, oh my God, you are so surrounded by love that, like, it's almost overwhelming here. I almost want to cry. You're so surrounded by love. And that the understanding, okay, so right now energy is simply swirling around you. And the swirl is actually love, but you may be experiencing it as not only confusing, but irritating. And so what I need you to do, what your guides are asking, I don't need you to do this, your guides are asking you to simply try to sit and try to breathe in love. Try to find that. They want you to cry too. That part of this time for you is to let the grief just, what we can't get out of, we have to go into and through. And right now, all of us have to go into grief. And your grief is compounded because you're alone, and you're alone in a scary time when everyone is experiencing grief. So I don't know if you have that sense of like energy spinning around you, but if you sit and breathe, it will slow down, and that energy, they're just trying to get your attention. The energy will slow down, it will settle, and you will be able to find that you're surrounded by love, but that the love has changed. And that is hard for all of us, right? Because it's a different form of love now, and we have to be clear what we do with it. So just try to breathe through that, and the understanding is going to come in fits and starts, in bits, and it takes time. But you are not alone, and you are absolutely loved, and the world at some point will open up for you again, but now you need to let yourself experience and honor where you are. Please let me know if that's helpful, and know that my heart goes out to you, and that, you know what, can everybody who's listening to me just take a deep breath right now, and when we exhale, what we want to do is we want to send out love to everyone who's feeling grief. So everyone, inhale and just exhale a sense of love to everyone who's feeling grief right now, and let everybody have that experience. So let me know, Christina, if that's helpful. Mary, your sister Katie, okay, and if she's coming into financial abundance, okay, we all want to know that, don't we? So I'm going to tweak that question a little bit. Well, I'm actually just going to see what guides show up and what shows up for her in that. Katie, this one's a little bit different for me. I'm wondering if you have a grandmother, an older woman who's passed, who you were very close to, whose life you found her to be a mentor or something, and there's something about her you're trying to emulate. She's coming through very, very clearly for me, and she is telling me to sort of shift your focus a little bit back to your heart. She's telling me that there was always something she told you, like live your dream, or, yeah, she didn't tell you that. She's getting irritated with me. She wants you to remember that when you walk slowly and like barefoot through grass, you remember how connected you are to the planet and how connected you are to yourself. And when you remember that you will know the way towards the financial abundance, because it can be there for you. But you need to remember who you are first and walk. It's definitely about walking barefoot in grass. And so, but this is an older woman. It could just be a spirit guide, but it feels to me like somebody who was on the planet at some point, who you knew, who encouraged you to do that. Let me know if that actually makes sense to you. That would be helpful. If that's resonating, and Mary, maybe you can let me know if that resonates. For Katie, Christina, thank you for letting me know that was okay. And Nikki, good. I'm glad that helped. Christina, I'm glad that helped. We started the show a little bit late today, so I'm hoping we can go a little bit longer too, as long as you're still posting questions. And so if you don't have access to Facebook, maybe you can call one of your friends who has access to Facebook and have them post a question. Let me tell you a little bit about what's going on right now in the sky. So much is going on in the sky. I've talked about Pluto and Saturn. Saturn's moved on, it'll come back. I've talked about Pluto and Jupiter. I've talked about Uranus. I've talked about all these planets. Something really big is coming in the next several years, and we're seeing it start now. Pluto is the planet of change. Some people call her, and while many people, Pluto was the god of the underworld, Pluto's always had a feminine energy to me, so I refer to Pluto as her. She is often known as the planet of destruction. For me, she's the planet of profound awareness, and the only way we get to profound awareness is to remove that which hinders us, that which blinds us, that which we have become so accustomed to that we no longer even know is there, right? You know, as growing up, LA smog was like that. It was just there. Right? Take a look at LA right now, especially during this. Now you would notice a smoggy day because the air is clear. So Pluto clears things away. And when we hang on tightly to things that are being taken away, we create crisis. The emptying, the taking away isn't the crisis. Our response to it, our emotional response can be. Pluto takes about 250 years, roughly, give or take, to go all the way around the sun. And when a planet returns to where it was on our birth chart, it's life-changing, right? That happens with Saturn. Everybody who's worked with an astrologer has heard about their Saturn return. But humans don't get a Pluto return. We'd have to be 250 years old to get a Pluto return. But guess what does? Countries. Countries get Pluto returns. And guess what? America is starting that Pluto return. It's not it's not there yet. It's what we call in orb. It's getting close. And as it gets close, we start to feel the effects of it. I'm just taking a look in the Facebook site to see if there's anybody else wanting to chat. Nobody just yet. So what does a Pluto return mean? Well, take a look around you right now. Take a look around the world. Take a look around the U.S. and what's happening. And astrologers often, mostly, hopefully, don't tell us exactly. We don't say, here's what's going to happen. We say, here's the energy. And then the humans have choices. We have choices how we play it out. But what Pluto does, and a Pluto return, is it says the structures that you built 250 years ago are a little old. They need to be cleaned. They need to be shaken up. And they need transformation. And, you know, that's going to be scary for a lot of people in so many ways. This energy determines in some ways what comes next for the U.S. And not just the U.S., because we're a global culture. So now what happens to the U.S. affects everybody else. We can be sort of focused on it and help this change. We can resist it and watch that change happen anyway. The change happens. Pluto's there. How we experience it, how we translate it, what we decide to do with it, that's up to us. And I'm not going to do an entire sort of, hour here, or, whatever I've got left, about 10 minutes on this. But the conjunction sets the ball rolling, right? So the exact conjunction actually happens in mid-2021, but the planets have been close enough that we're beginning to feel the effect of it, the beginning effect. My ears are ringing, which means one of you, somebody out there would like something from me, and I don't know who, because that is always how it happens when my ears start ringing. So, what is that about? What is that Pluto? And I apologize if I'm not seeing you in the site here. Okay. If you're trying to get to me, please post in the site. It does mean that we were going to be in an energy of change. It does not mean catastrophe. And in the end, it will work for the good. But it is transformation. Positive things come from what we may consider chaotic change or drastic change. Good things come from that. In any system, any environmental working system, right? Any system, at some point it can become unbalanced, out of balance. And the way that it rebalances, it goes through a little period of chaos and then comes out more beautiful than before. Pluto is inviting the United States of America to do that. This is not a political statement. This isn't about who's going to win, who's going to lose, who should, who shouldn't, how it looks. It's an invitation. That's what Pluto is offering us. And Pluto will initiate the changes, and then it's up to us. It's up to us what we do with them. I have to say that, okay, so I'm seeing if there's another post in here from someone. Alita, are you trying to post? Are you the one who was ringing my ears a minute ago? Or Bex? If you want a question, so if you clap, that's really good, but let me know. I have a few more minutes that I can do this. I'm going to, hopefully, Henry's going to let me just run a little over since I started a little late. If you have a question, go ahead and post it, because I do have a little more time. And I'm looking here. Joseph, you're asking a medical question, and you're going to have to get to a medical expert to ask that question. So again, I don't do health, and I don't have a background in biology. My science degree is geology, so I do the things that I know how to do. And that's all I'm seeing right now. I'm not seeing another question. Okay. What is up for us for the week? Let me talk about that a little bit. And I'd love to know how you like a show like this, because this is something I can do again. And the more people posting questions, actually, the better off it is. So I am still trying to see if there's any other questions. Alita, did you have a question? Because you need to post something so I can get a hit off your energy. I can't, just seeing your name, I don't know if you actually want me to say something for you. So if you post just a, like even just a hi, say something to me, that's enough for me to get going. But I've got to have a little bit of energy to read off of and to have permission to read for you. Okay, what is up in this week? So the planets are still in these very intense areas. Today is fascinating because the planet Uranus is in Taurus and it's next to the planet Mercury. So I've talked about Uranus. Uranus is the explosive energy, unpredictability, often in brilliant thought. And it is cozied up next to Mercury right now. And Mercury is the planet of communication. Neither of those planets actually like being, they're not very comfortable in Taurus. Taurus is a lovely astrological sign, but these are planets of sending their energy out quickly. And Taurus is a sign of slowing down. Just slowing down, being more centered, being more present. And so you can imagine that those two energies can be conflicted, right? So what are we going to experience right now? Pay attention to your thoughts. Pay attention to quicksilver thoughts that come. Be ready to write them down. You don't have to act on them all, but you might get some amazing ideas and some amazing insights in this time. Be aware of them, right? And this is mental. This isn't from your heart. This isn't like your heart opening and you suddenly realize who you're in love with. These are mental things. These are ideas and notions and concepts. And suddenly you want to learn more. Why do you want to learn more? Because Uranus, which rules Aquarius, also is the energy of the scientist. You want to learn more. So Joseph, that's a really great question, actually, because you want to learn more. Research it on real research, science blogs, right? It's a great energy for that, but be aware of that. Okay, Mary, Alita, you're trying to, what's her, okay, so Alita, you want to know about a career change. I'm going to keep talking for like another 5 minutes before I sign on. Alita, I have to tell you, you have some of the most beautiful energy I have felt. Lovely, lovely energy okay, here's where it's tricky. Your career, the first idea of why you went into your career is not necessarily bad, but the way your career is playing out doesn't feel as comfortable for the energy of beauty around you. Your skills and talents, you're right on with what you know you're good at. Where you're applying them is not letting you have the experience of expressing and being rewarded from, being appreciated for the love and beauty that you bring forward. You have really, really beautiful, beautiful energy. And the career change, it feels to me like it is a slight change. it isn't a radical change. I mean, I went from geology to psychology, pretty radical. Yours feels to me like looking at transferable skills and a different place to apply them. That it is the culture you're in that it is not working, as opposed to what you're doing. And the opportunity, it also feels to me, is going to come up in a very interesting way, that if you just sort of do some exploring, I think what you're going to find is that the opportunities show up. Expect some synchronicity or some sort of just magical things that show up. Synchronicity is like that when we're looking for something. Often something shows up and we didn't realize that it could show up in that way. So let me know if that works for you, if that makes sense to you. Okay, Christina, what do I see for your best future? I think go back to what I said to you already and see if that resonates. I have to tell you, and then I'm in my last minute of the show, that often when we ask a question and then re-ask it, our guides, when they come to me, and my guides do this to me all the time, they're like, pay attention to what you're feeling and what you're knowing, okay? The best advice right now I have to give to everybody out there is to listen to that inner sense of self you have. Listen to the voices. Listen to the feelings. People sometimes get information by hearing, by dreams, by physical sensation. Mine come in all of those different ways when I'm reading for different people, and it depends on that guide or that spirit or that loved one who's passed that I'm channeling. They come to me in different ways. And so, Christina, your guides are saying, just listen. Just listen. Okay. So this was the first time that came out on international radio, that yes, this is the work you get when you work with me. You also get this side of me. You get the PhD in psych, you get the trained astrologer, and you get whatever you want to call this, right? The mystic, the channeler, the whatever. And I'm bringing my full self forward because that's my soul's craving, to help you with your soul's craving. And this was a first for me, and a first, I think, for KUHS Radio, Denver The Stream. Not sure, but I think so. We have done a little under an hour. Let me check to see if there's one more. It looks like there might be one more comment. Not sure. If there's one more thing here. No, there's not. And so, I've run a little bit over, but I want to thank you for joining me. I want to give a couple more shout outs. Amazing sponsors. VeteransPride.org is one. Nancy Harnum is her name, and I will quote, she's a 5-element acupuncturist, and she's able to open her practice, I think, next week. So if you've been feeling like you need another energy boost or some other healing or some work on your immune system, she's amazing. I want to thank you for being with me here today on KUHS Radio, the stream, and on the Crystal Ball Hour. And if you keep posting in the Facebook site, I can get back to you. And again, you can find me on elisarobin.com. And if you like this kind of show, and if you would love to have readings, then also let me know, let the station know that this is something you would like to do. All right? This is Elisa signing off. Everyone stay well and listen to your guides because they are speaking to you.